Hello everyone, welcome again to online session of Manu Law classes. My name is Dinesh Kumar and I am former assistant professor of law at Campus Law Center, Law Faculty, Delhi University, and presently I am working as an academic head of Manu Law classes. In today's session, I will discuss with you one of the landmark judgment of Honorable Supreme Court, that is in the case of Satbir Singh and others versus State of Haryana. But before discussing this landmark case with all of you, there is an important announcement. We at Manu Law classes have started CLAT 2022 and 2023 admissions for the CLAT course, and all of you can get yourself enrolled with us for getting the best result. For more information, you can dial the number given on the screen, and you may also visit our website, that is www.lawentranceindia.com. We at Manu Law classes are also providing 15 days free trial for all the students, and in this 15 days free trial you will get the following benefits. Number one, you will get live classes with one-to-one interaction. Number two, you will get the recorded conceptual lectures on various topics. Number three, topic test, and number four, sectional test. And the last, we will also provide you the analysis of your performance, and this analysis will be done by our team of experts. For availing this benefit, you need to do the following activities. First of all, you should find the link in the description below. Second, you should locate the sign up for 15 days free trial. Third, fill the form, and then you will be eligible to get the benefit of 15 days free trial at Manu Law classes. So dear students, today I will discuss with you the landmark judgment of Honorable Supreme Court, that is in the case of Satbir Singh and another versus State of Haryana. This judgment was delivered by Honorable Supreme Court on 28th May 2021. In this judgment, I will discuss with you following constitutional and legal provisions, and the first provision is Article 136 of Constitution of India. Basically, Article 136 of Constitution of India provides for the special leave petition. Now the question arises, what is the meaning of the term special leave petition? So basically, special leave petition is an opportunity for those persons who are aggrieved by the decision of any court in India and the decision of any tribunal in India, except the decision of Armed Forces Tribunal. It means that if any person or any party is aggrieved by the decision of any court in India or tribunal of India, then such party can directly approach to Honorable Supreme Court under Article 136 of Constitution of India, and that's why it is known as a special leave petition. Now we come to Section 304B of IPC. This Section 304B of IPC deals with the concept of dowry death. It means that if the death of a woman is caused within 7 years of her marriage, and the death of the woman occurs otherwise than normal circumstances, means the death is caused of the woman in abnormal circumstances, and before her death she was subjected to cruelty either by the husband or of the relatives of the husband in connection or in relation with the demand of dowry, then such death is caused dowry death under Section 304B of IPC. Now we come to the next section, and the next section is the Section 306 of Indian Penal Code 1860. Section 306 of IPC provides for abatement to commit suicide. Means if a person abets the another person to commit the suicide or create such situation because of which the other person, means the victim, is compelled to commit suicide, then the accused in the given situation is deemed to have caused the abatement of suicide under section 306 of IPC. Now we come to the next section, and next section is section 313 of CRPC. Section 313 provides that when the prosecution evidence are over, then it is the duty on the part of the court to personally examine the accused person, and in this personal examination, accused can explain all the circumstances which appears to him against him in the evidence produced by the prosecution against the accused person. So basically this section 313 is part of the principle of natural justice, which provides for audi alteram partem, means here the other side. Means if the prosecution have produced all the evidences in its support and all the evidences are against the accused person, then this section 313 gives an opportunity to accused person that he can also deny all the allegations adduced by the prosecution against him in this particular case. Now I come to the next section, and next section is section 113A of Indian Evidence Act. So basically section 113A of Indian Evidence Act is regarding the presumption in the case of abatement of suicide. It provides that if the circumstances or the essential ingredients of section 306 of IPC are fulfilled, then court may presume. It provides that court may presume that it was a case of abatement of suicide. Got it? Means if the death of a person is caused in abnormal circumstances and there was cruelty before the death of that person, and that person is compelled to commit the suicide, then the person who abets or that person who compels such person or victim to commit suicide shall be liable under section 306, and section 113A provides for the presumption of abatement of suicide against such accused person. The last section is 113B. This section 113B provides that if the essential elements of section 304B of IPC are satisfied, then it is the duty on the part of the respective court to presume that it was a case of dowry death. Got it? So now we move to the facts of this case. As far as the facts of this case are concerned, in this case, the deceased and accused were married on 1st July 1994. Around 13 months, that is on 31st July 1995 at around 4 or 4:30 p.m. some person informed the complainant. Dear students, complainant in this case is the father of the victim, means the father of the girl. Complainant was informed by some persons that his daughter was ailing and admitted in the hospital, and on this information he went to the hospital with his wife and son. And when he reached the hospital, he found that her daughter passed away due to the burn injuries. In this case, the prosecution case was that the victim in this case has committed the suicide, and the suicide she has committed in connections with the cruelty against her and in connection with the demand of dowry on the part of the husband and the relatives of the husband. Trial court convicted the accused person under section 304B and 306 of IPC. 304B provides for the dowry death and 306 provides for the abatement of suicide. And Honorable Court sentenced the accused persons to the rigorous imprisonment up to 7 years and up to 5 years respectively in the both the charges. Aggrieved by the decision of the trial court, accused approached to the Honorable High Court, and Honorable High Court also confirmed the decision of Honorable Trial Court. Then, aggrieved from the decision of Honorable High Court, the accused person also approached to Honorable Supreme Court under Article 136 of Constitution of India. That is, means by way of special leave petition. Now, when the matter was before Honorable Supreme Court, there were two issues before Honorable Supreme Court, and the issue one was that whether trial court and the High Court were correct in convicting the accused on the charge under section 304B of IPC, means whether the conviction of the accused person was justified under 304B, which provides for the dowry death, and second was that whether the trial court and High Court were correct in convicting the accused person on the charge of abatement of suicide or the charges under section 306 of IPC. Now we come to the contention of the prosecution. In this case, prosecution raised three contentions in its support, and the contention number one was that death of the victim occurred within 7 years of marriage. It is one of the essential elements of dowry death under section 304B of IPC. Second contention was that death was due to the burn of victim, means death occurred otherwise than normal circumstances. It means these two essential elements of section 304B were satisfied. As far as the third contention is concerned, prosecution contended that the brother of the victim, who is prosecution witness 7 in this case, stated that when he went to the house of the deceased on the occasion of Raksha Bandhan, then she told him that she was subjected to cruelty by her husband and her in-laws in the connection of the demand of dowry. And this fact was also confirmed or affirmed by the another prosecution witness, that is another brother of the deceased, that when he approached to the victim around before 1 week before the death of the victim, then she also told this story to his second brother that she was subjected to cruelty by the husband or the relatives of the husband in connection with the demand of dowry. All these three evidences were proved by the prosecution beyond reasonable doubt, and all these circumstances prove that there existed a live and proximate link between the instance of the demand of dowry and the death of the deceased. Means there was sufficient connection between the demand of dowry and the death of the deceased or death of the victim. So it must be the case of dowry death, and they have abated the commission of suicide, or the husband or in-laws of the husband have created such kind of situations, and because of such situation the deceased was compelled to commit the suicide. In this case, appellant means Satvir Singh raised only one contention, and the contention was that the death of the victim was as a result of an accident, and it was not as a result of the dowry death, or it was not as a result of cruelty with respect to the dowry death, and it was also not the case of abatement of suicide. But prosecution in this case proved the guilt of the accused person beyond the reasonable doubt, means whatever evidences were adduced by the prosecution in its support, it proved all the evidences beyond reasonable doubt. As far as the contention of appellant is concerned, appellant could not prove in the court that this was the case of accidental death, and it was not the case of dowry death, or it was also not the case of abatement of suicide. Now we come to the decision of Honorable Supreme Court in this case. In this case, Honorable Supreme Court analyzed first of all section 304B of IPC, which provides that where the death of a woman is caused by any burn or bodily injury, or occurs otherwise than under normal circumstances. I told you this, occurs otherwise than under normal circumstances within 7 years of marriage. So this is one of the essential element of the liability under section 304B of IPC. And it is shown that soon before, I will also explain this word soon before, because in this case Honorable Supreme Court has elaborately explained this word soon before. Her death she was subjected to cruelty, means उसकी डेथ से पहले उसके साथ cruelty की गई थी. Now I will explain the word soon before in my subsequent slide to you. And harassment by her husband or relatives of her husband, means the cruelty was committed against her either by the husband or by the relatives of the husband. And this cruelty was committed in connection with or demand for dowry, means cruelty was related to the demand of dowry. Such death shall be called dowry death, means if a death of a victim or death of the any person is occurred under the given circumstances as provided in section 304B of IPC, then such death shall be deemed to be the dowry death within the meaning of section 304B of IPC, and such husband or relatives of the husband shall be deemed that all have caused the death of the victim. Honorable Supreme Court further observed that to sustain the charge of section 304B of IPC, following essential ingredients must be satisfied. First is the death of the woman should be caused by burn or bodily injury or otherwise than normal circumstances. So there are three essential points here. One is either the death must have been caused by burn, second either the death must have been caused by bodily injury, and third one is the death must have been caused otherwise than normal circumstances, means the victim was not suffering from any other disease and the death was not in normal circumstances, rather the death of the victim was abnormal. Second, such a death should have occurred within 7 years of marriage. Dear students, dowry death will only be applicable if the death occurs of the woman within 7 years of marriage. If the death occurs of the woman after the 7 years of marriage, then we cannot call such death as a dowry death. Next, she must have been subjected to cruelty or harassment by husband or the relatives of husband, means there must be cruelty with the woman either by the husband or by the relative of the husband. Second, such cruelty or harassment should be for in connection with the demand of dowry, means merely cruelty is not sufficient, because the cruelty may be with the woman with respect to any other matter, any other household matter as well, but the cruelty must be with respect to the demand of dowry or in connection with the demand of dowry. Such cruelty or harassment is shown to have meted out to the woman to soon before her death, means cruelty must have been committed with the woman soon before her death, means there must be proximate relationship between the death of the victim and the cruelty. If there is no proximate relationship between the death of the victim and the cruelty, then it will also not be the case of dowry death. Now we come to the presumptions regarding dowry death, and Honorable Supreme Court in this case also observed section 113B. 113B provides for the presumption in cases of dowry death. It provides that when the question is whether a person has committed the dowry death of a woman and it is shown that soon before her death such woman has been subjected to such person to cruelty or harassment in connection with or any demand of dowry, then court shall presume. Dear student, court shall presume. It means that if the circumstances of section 304B are satisfied by the prosecution, then it is mandatory for the court to presume that it is a case of dowry death, and the burden of proof in this situation will be shifted to the accused person, and now the accused person has to prove that it was not the case of dowry death. So if the elements of section 304B are satisfied, then it is mandatory for the court to presume the case of dowry death, and if the accused person wants to prove that he is innocent, then the burden of proof lies upon him that it is not the case of dowry death. Honorable Supreme Court in this case also interpreted the word soon before. So this is very important observation in this case by Honorable Supreme Court, and in this case Honorable Supreme Court held that soon before does not means immediate before. Means there are two words, one is the soon before and second is the immediate before. So soon before under section 304B does not means that immediately before. Means if the circumstances are such that cruelty was committed with the woman not soon before, rather there was some time gap in the cruelty, but there is a proximate relationship. There is a proximate relationship between the death of the victim and the cruelty committed by the husband or the relatives of the husband, then it also will be a case of dowry death. In this case, Honorable Supreme Court observed that the lower courts or the trial court or Honorable High Court must not consider the expression soon before as immediately before. Rather, the word soon before need to be given some elaborate interpretations, because if it is given very strict interpretation, it will lead to the injustice with the victim. So soon before here does not means immediately before. It means that if the cruelty was committed with the woman or the victim not immediately before the death of the victim, rather there is some time gap, then it will also be the case of dowry death. But what is required to be proved in the court of law is that there must be proximate relationship between the death of the victim and the cruelty committed by the accused person. Honorable Supreme Court also analyzed section 313 of CRPC and directed to the lower courts that they should not treat this section merely a procedural formality. Rather, it must be applied by the respective honorable courts or honorable lower courts in its letter and spirit. It means that section 313 is a very important provision of law and it contains the provision of principle of natural justice. It provides an opportunity to the accused person to explain all the circumstances which appears to him against him, and it is the duty on the part of a trial court, when the court takes all the evidence of prosecution. After taking all the evidence of prosecution, court gives this opportunity to the accused, means court personally examine the accused person under section 313 of CRPC. And in this section, this person, means the accused person, is not given oath and he is free whatever defense he wants to take. As far as the conviction under section 306 IPC is concerned, lower court and honorable high court convicted the accused person under these two sections, means the section 304B and section 306 of IPC. But honorable Supreme Court did not find any evidence of abatement of suicide in this case, and honorable Supreme Court set aside this charge. As far as section 306 of IPC is concerned, it provides for the abatement of suicide. It provides that if any person commits suicide, so dear students, if any person commits suicide, just here the commission of suicide is necessary. If one person abates another person but the another person does not commit the suicide, then section 306 will not be applicable. So section 306 itself provides that if any person commits suicide, means the commission of suicide is necessary. Whoever abets the commission of such suicide shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 10 years and shall also be liable to fine. Now we come to section 113A, which provides for the presumption in the case of abatement of suicide. It provides that when the question is whether the commission of suicide by a woman had been abetted by her husband or any relative of husband, and it is shown that she had committed suicide within a period of 7 years, means the period of 7 years is also a kind of limitation here from the date of her marriage, and that her husband or such relative of her husband had subjected her to cruelty. So there are two essential elements for the presumption under section 113A, that is, the death must have been committed within 7 years of the marriage of the victim, and she must have been subjected to cruelty either by the husband or the relatives of the husband. Then court may presume that it is a case of this abatement of suicide. Now, if I would like to explain the difference between section 113A and 113B of Indian Evidence Act. Basically, dear students, 113A provides for the may presume, means here court has discretion whether to presume the case of this abatement of suicide or not, means court is not bound to presume the case of abatement of suicide. But as far as section 304B of IPC is concerned, it is mandatory for the court, if the elements of section 304B are satisfied, then court has to prove, and that's why the word shall has been mentioned under section 113B of Indian Evidence Act, and word may has been mentioned in section 113A of Indian Evidence Act. So in this case, finally, Honorable Supreme Court upheld the conviction of accused person under section 304B, that is for dowry death, and set aside the conviction of accused person under section 306 of IPC. In this case, Honorable Supreme Court set aside the conviction of the accused person under section 306 of IPC because there was not sufficient evidence by the prosecution to prove this charge against the accused person. But Honorable Supreme Court upheld and maintained the charge of section 304B against the accused person and sentenced him accordingly. So dear students, that's all for today. I will come again with the next latest path-breaking judgment, and till then, please take care yourself, follow the guidelines of the government regarding COVID prevention, and observe COVID appropriate behavior, and thank you very much.